Hey, and we are live. I had a way of beeping somewhere. Hello, it's Jayson with everybody here for Dreams for Bygone Age, and we are on session 8. And we're getting on with things. So after a good load of downtime, we're gonna start off right with a bang. But before we do, shall we introduce our lovely, well-rested, well-learned players? So let's start off with Ronnie.
Hi there. This is Ronnie here, coming at you in someone else's video. I had to throw that in somewhere. I am playing Dominic Hollander. I am a sheriff. I was teetering on the edge of a nervous breakdown from what had been happening over the last couple of sessions, but I've had a bit of downtime. Went to see the guys at NYPD, the old gang. Had a few drinks, showed a few scars, and I'm feeling better for it. Definitely feeling better.
Okay, and how about Phil?
Evening. Yes, I'm playing Carl Kulinski. He's a small-time criminal, freelance, best known for boosting cars. He's been trying to go straight, but he's been challenged mentally by these very strange happenings. He's very happy to have some rest and some time back, but apprehensive about a trip to Africa, which is about to happen. He's had a bit of time to look into it, and it's not made him feel very much better, I'm afraid.
And of course, Becky.
Hi, tonight I'm going to be Helen Munroe, the local shopkeeper. And I appear to be holding a glass of beer on camera. Don't worry, I'm not an alcoholic. Alcoholics seek treatment for their problem. I'm just a drunk.
Okay. And does anybody want to summarize last week's session? Obviously, for a bit of a reward. I hear that lots of you are lacking in luck. One thing.
I have 2 points of luck, darling.
Well,
I'm
there
not
we
too
go.
bad for luck.
I'm okay for luck, actually. I really should have used a lot more of it last week.
It was sanity that was pretty dodgy.
My sanity's back up to where it was.
It's back up now.
So, yeah, I possibly could have used luck and saved myself a bit of hassle last week, but but I'm okay for luck.
Well, Becky, it sounds like the guys are all fine.
So what did happen last week? I don't know, because I'm a useless drunk.
What, really? You don't remember at all?
Oh my God.
Like, seriously, you don't remember?
Well, no.
I remember shooting a guy.
Oh, we were apprehended by guys in cars and guns, except we weren't apprehended. I magicked some away, and then the remainders, they wanted us to join some oh gosh, what was it now? The Yellow King, and we said no, we're not joining no Yellow King. We're in denial about that. Anyway, we seem to go and do things that please them anyway. Can't quite remember what. Oh, wait, I remember. We went to that school and we ran over all the children.
Oh, yes. Yes, with me maniacally singing Alice Cooper.
Yes, and then we have to leg it out of the country before we get arrested.
Yeah, we ran the cows over the bleachers, and for all of you people on the other side of the pond, a bleacher is a grandstand. The proper word for it.
And what other motive did you feel, Helen, at the end of the session?
Motive, the end of the session? I'm trying to remember the end of the session. Give me a moment here. It's been a busy weekend.
All right, I'll fill in the gaps. You can have 3 luck back.
Oh, you're so sweet to me.
So yes, the Brotherhood came to confront you, and basically you managed to dispel a few of them. But then you went to this school nearest to Charlottesville, where the moral majority were doing something. You weren't really sure what, but you'd been having these visions of fires and being burnt and things like that.
Oh my God, that's right. And it turns out that that's the other us.
Indeed. However, you managed to get there before the other you were burned, and you did indeed run over a lot of children. Before then, Ronnie's character Dominic got hold of a rather weird-looking mask with strange, mysterious powers of some sort, because obviously there are 3 of you. There's got to be 3 magic items. And even though you managed to save the other one of you, they fell into the hands of the Brotherhood.
Oh, that's right. We got we found ourselves waking up somewhere again, or transported, or teleported, or something.
Yes, that's right. So you were teleported to a place of safety by Ben and his egg.
That's right, yes.
But the Brotherhood had indeed indoctrinated the other you. But in the meantime, you did some downtime, and really your biggest priority from the sounds of it was to get to Africa first, especially as at the very end, that mysterious man in the mask had confirmed that he was an ally of Katie.
Just remind me that lovely, mysterious man in the mask that was an ally of Katie.
Mm-hmm.
I have a vague recollection about him.
Well, you don't know much else. All you know is that Ronnie or Dominic saw him a couple of times when putting the mask on.
Thank
in a
you.
strange, dark place surrounded by jungle.
Yes. Just as a player aside, you do realize that every time I did put that mask on, I had to really, really, really refrain from doing any Jim Carrey quoting.
Yes, I know.
That was a genuine strain.
You did it very well.
What can I say? I'm a professional.
Okay. So, obviously you've had downtime. You've done various things. You've learned new skills. You've refined certain things. You've gone and tried to relax. You've got passports, etc. So we're going to fast forward. It's been a few months since you sort of did anything major in terms of the supernatural or tampered with anything of that nature. But we're going to start with all of you jolting awake. You come to a sense, it takes a couple of seconds, but you remember, oh yes, you're on a plane. You are heading from Charlottesville, which was the nearest airport, to Burkina Faso. And you think there's some kind of turbulence, but it was a big one, especially for those of you who are deep sleepers or heavy drinkers, or both. But you see sort of outside, you can't see very much. It's quite dark, maybe not pitch black, but certainly, very low light out there. But then you kind of feel another bit of shaking, quite major turbulence, not just your sort of, washing machine vibration type turbulence you might get flying over clouds. For those of you who are like looking out of your seats, because it is fairly small, you can hear most things. You can see the pilot in the front. He's kind of doing quite a lot of gestures, like exclamations. No, neither of those people are on the plane. or Samuel L. Jackson, for that matter.
How many other people are on the plane? Are they worried as well, or is it just are they noticed?
There are a few people. It's not full, and again, it's a small plane, so there's about 20 passenger seats. About maybe half of them are full, sort of dotted around. There are a couple of people that are still sort of keeping themselves or asleep. However, if you like, you can make me a listen roll, Carl.
Listen roll, okay. Which I fail.
Yeah. It's quite difficult, really, to tell if anybody else has noticed. It doesn't seem like anybody has. There are a few people who are awake, but you think maybe they're just kind of trying to grin and bear it a bit.
I say, Helen, is this normal? I'm not used to flying. Is this what happens?
You think for one moment I've been outside on good old America? Hell no.
Stewardess? Sure it is.
Oh, and you see there's sort of a young man who's sort of very well dressed. He comes up and says, yes, sir, what can I do for you? I am sorry about this
yes. Yeah.
turbulence.
Just clarify something for me. I often hear about this Mile High Club. I didn't actually realize. I didn't realize that it meant the plane as well.
Well,
because the way this plane is jumping around, it sounds like it's humping outside. Could you tell it to stop until we land?
Well, I'll see what I can do, sir. But as you know, I don't fly this plane, and more to the point, we can't really control it too much. It is just clouds. We can't control where the clouds are, sir. But I'll have a little chat to the captain. He might even be plotting a different course for all I know. But obviously, if anything does happen, or if there's a bit of a delay, we'll let you know. We want everyone to be comfortable.
Thank you very much.
And then he starts to sort of go towards the cockpit, but as he turns around, he looks up, at the little display, like the seatbelt sign, and he starts sort of saying, "Oh, weird," and he starts sort of pressing buttons. You can see that normally it's like a seatbelt sign, so either together or apart.
Yeah.
And last time you vaguely recall it was together, but now it's disappeared completely. There's no symbol showing. It's just off.
Sure. Isn't it normal safety procedure to have a little light that says we should have our seatbelts on?
Well, yes, of course. I'll have to go and check the main. Just bear with me. And he goes off. You then, are you still watching him? Is he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he goes over near to the cockpit, and he twiddles with something. You're not really sure what. But eventually, after maybe a couple of minutes, comes back on. Although after just a few seconds, it changes to a completely different symbol, and basically it shows a word rather than a symbol, which says Ben. And Ben is with you.
Where is he in relation to me?
He probably, because it's not many places full. He'd probably take a window seat, maybe in front of you or behind you, so not too far away.
Right. I tap him on the shoulder. If he's in front of me, I tap him on the shoulder. If he's beside me, he gets the nudge.
Yeah. So he kind of jolts a bit. It sounds like he's been asleep. But he kind of rubs his head and says, "Oh, we're going."
I point to the seatbelt indicator. I say, "You have airmail."
What? What are you talking about?
Says your name up there where it should say seatbelts.
He gets out and he has a look and is quite shocked. You don't think it's her, do you? And you hear the sound of, sir, you should be sitting in your seat. I know some of the displays aren't working, but you should be fastening your seatbelt.
Now, Ben, I highly doubt it's Katie. If she was haunting you, she wouldn't be anywhere near as creepy.
But how would that happen?
Well, I suggest we wait and see what happens next, because that's just getting your attention. That's what people mean when they say your name.
He gets down, sits in his seat, and you can see as well, Dominic, that the steward, he's gone over and he's gone to the cockpit. But then suddenly there's a big sort of jolt.
Whoa.
And those
What?
is anyone sitting near a window?
Yeah, I could be sitting near a window.
Okay. In that case, Kyle, just out of the corner of your eye, you thought maybe it was the sun, like an early sunrise, maybe, out of the window. It's very, very orange looking, but you realize actually it's not, because it's much, much closer and it's much bigger. Well, maybe not in scale if the sun was right next to you, but anyway, much bigger. And it's got a very similar hue to kind of the general atmosphere of a certain terrible, mysterious place you all went to.
Did you see that out the window?
I have a nosy.
It's like that.
So do you go over to
Back
his
there.
side, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you head on over to this side. It's a bit of a crink because, aeroplane windows are small, but yeah, you do definitely see something out of the plane window, as if you're really just sort of starting to fly towards it.
Does that look what I think it is?
It does look like, it looks a lot like the sky that you saw in Carcosa above the lake.
That's not a good thing. I'm calling it now. That's not good. Shit.
You hear somebody come on the tannoy. It's the steward, and he says, "Attention all passengers, we are going to take a slight detour. It's far too stormy going ahead, and there's some really strange light as well. We're not sure what that is. Maybe some kind of thunder or something. But anyway, the pilots advise that we're going to be going a bit further down south before we turn across the Atlantic, and we do apologize for any inconvenience or delay. But please sit tight. We'll be fine. We're getting out of the turbulence now anyway, and you can feel it is getting a little bit sort of, lighter. It is subsiding."
Okay. Okay. I go and sort of gingerly retake my seat, but I'm now. I've gone from deep sleep to sort of full alert now.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much longer has this flight got to do, Steward? Steward.
Oh, so we've got plenty of time. We're not even free of the Americas technically. We need to go down the coast, and what we're going to do, I believe we're turning fully east when we get down nearest to Bermuda, I believe the pilot said.
Now, forgive me, gentlemen. It occurred to me that we're flying because it struck me that this whole trying to teleport with the ring thing was both unreliable and, daunting and possible unknown consequences. Don't panic. If anything is to go wrong, I will get us out of here. And I can't help but feel like we should panic right now.
Well, I'm going to just clarify something with the steward, and depending on his response, I may join you in the panic station just directly. Steward, just to clarify,
Yes, sir.
you said going to be passing over Bermuda.
Oh, well, nearest to Bermuda. We're not going to be going straight over it because there's too many planes going across it. Too many from Florida, but yeah. It's a lot less stormy down there at the moment, so we're going to read the
Just to
advantage.
clarify, this plane is a standard plane, right? This isn't some wooden plane with wooden propellers and things like that. This is a modern small jet.
Yes,
right?
I mean, it is small. Not many people want to go to Africa, but of
Right.
course.
Listen, here's what I'm saying. You are about to turn this plane and fly near Bermuda in a metal object. Have you
Yes.
not seen the news reports? Things get fucking lost down there. Things
No,
go
sir,
missing.
no need to be rude.
Actually, statistically, it's no more dangerous than anywhere else, Sheriff.
My cousin's been to Bermuda on holiday. He said it was very nice.
And I'm sure the shorts fitted perfectly. Now, usually, I would agree. But given our recent history and the fact that if a shit thing was going to happen, it happened, I think statistically, we may be slightly fucked. But
No, I read it in the newspaper. Or is it a magazine?
all I know is if Barry Manilow can sing a song about it, I want him to steer clear.
Right, and he's looked a bit freaked out ever since you said your past history. I mean, if you have anything against the Caribbean, that's your opinion, sir, but we're perfectly competent in our jobs. We'll get over the place. We won't lose anything. I mean, what, would you rather we fly straight through the storm? Would you prefer that?
No. Oh, good God, no.
Do we have enough fuel to take such a detour? That's an awful long way out the way.
We should do, yes. If the worst comes to the worst, we could always refuel once we reach Africa and then head to Bygone. But the pilot said it's fine. We've got a couple on reserve.
Good.
And as you start to feel maybe a slight relief, suddenly there's a very bright pink, golden, forked shard of lightning that you can see display across one of the windows. And this deafening...
Oh,
Okay.
I thought we were turning away from the storm.
Well, so did I. And the steward looks down and sort of rushes back towards the pilot.
I may be wrong, but I don't think that particular flash of lightning was normal for the area.
It didn't look the right colour.
Oh, shit.
Perhaps Helen's got the right idea. Perhaps we should get a drink.
No, I need my senses keen. I have a feeling something bad's going to happen.
You can definitely see more of this orangey pink cloud kind of coming into view now. It's as if this thing is getting bigger and you don't seem to be turning away from it at all, even if you have changed course, which the pilot said you have.
Bear with me. I actually go now to the front of the plane, to the cockpit.
Ah, I wondered if you would do that. Okay, so you head down through the seats. As you pass through, you can see a couple of people have noticed as well that something's wrong and they're starting to freak out. There's one person who's praying. There's another person you just notice briefly. He's sort of scrawling in notes into his journal, like meticulously so.
I turn round at this point to see whether Kyle is watching me sort of go down. Either Kyle or Helen, for that matter.
I'll be watching you intermittently, turning my head and looking at the window.
To either one of them, if they happen to catch my eye, I will just literally, without saying anything, I'll just go,
What the hell is up with the sheriff? Has he finally flipped?
You know, pointing to this guy taking the
guy.
notes, and then I'm going to continue on to the.
He wants us to watch
The
him for
cockpit.
some reason. He doesn't seem to be doing very much. Can't really see from here.
Okay, so you head down to the cockpit.
He wants us to watch someone. Well, that sounds like that's my territory. And I'll stand up, walk down the aisle, and go to the person the sheriff pointed out.
Okay. In that case, yeah. So do you sort of sit near him or stand
Next
over
to
him?
if I can.
Yeah. There are a couple of seats. Yeah. So you sort of get in. He is a fairly elderly man, you think, although it's quite difficult to tell because he's got sort of grayish hair, but his face looks quite young. There's not many wrinkles. But in any case, he's got these sort of quite strange coloured lips, not very red looking, a bit pale. And he's sort of got this sort of posture going on. Doesn't seem to be worried at all in his body language, and he's scrawling in his little book. You can see he's got like a single briefcase with him near his lab.
I'll peer over at his book and see if he's writing in English.
Okay. Can you give me a spot hidden, please?
Oh, I thought for a moment you're going to ask for a sanity roll. What fucking bollocks.
Is it no?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, it's written in English. It's quite hard to read, though. It is very scrawly handwriting, unless you were sort of right next to it.
I say, are you a doctor?
A doctor?
Well, I couldn't help but notice your handwriting's like that of a child.
I am a doctor of sorts, yes.
Well, that explains it. All those years of taking down notes in medical school, writing so fast.
Medical school, no.
Oh,
I'm a doctor of theology, ma'am.
theology? Isn't that like religion?
Yes, different religions.
I see. I didn't know they made doctors for religious people. Well, I got married in a church. It was St. Mary's Immaculate Church. It was back in 1964.
I've got a PhD, madam. It means that you take a doctorate. Doesn't mean I can do doctorly things like you would in a medical practice.
Yes, I realize that.
No.
Look stupid. Of course not. And neither do you. So, tell me, what are you doing heading to Bikini Faso?
Well, I have an interest in the Muslim religion.
Okay, so what kind of church is that?
It is Islam. They believe in a monotheistic type God, a bit like Christianity. In fact, many argue that the God is one and the same. It all stems from the same tree.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about trees now. I'm just a shopkeeper.
Of course, but I am quite busy, and
well, never mind about that. I mean, there's a storm. We're probably all going to die anyway. So tell me about you.
Well, look, writing in here helps me relax, and you're not helping me relax.
Oh, I'm so sorry. How rude of me. Steward, could you get us a couple of drinks, please?
He sort of gives a little sort of snort, but you can see that he has already had one, so he obviously likes it. But as the steward is coming down the aisle with a couple of drinks for the both of you, I'm going to jump to Dominic, who's reached the cockpit. So essentially, there are a couple of things you can see, but the most immediate thing is this bright light outside, this very golden orange sort of pink that encompasses the whole of the window, and you hear this terrible screaming, these sounds that you've never ever heard before. Can you make me a sanity roll, please?
The word is why me? And then I realize it's Monday. Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, you've definitely seen that before, and that's definitely the very unique skyscape, shall we say, of Carcosa, which is very worrying to you indeed. But you keep your head sort of, not in the clouds, shall we say. And there are a few other things you noticed in the cockpit itself. The co-pilot is actually shaking the pilot. There's obviously something wrong with him. He's not responding. And the co-pilot's panicking a lot. He won't answer. He's just staring straight at the damn thing. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get him to plot a different course, but the console's not working properly either. It keeps showing up these weird messages.
what weird messages? Sorry, local police.
Oh, right. Well, they're not there at the minute, but there was one that said, Ben or Benjamin, can you hear me? You must change course. Head for Bermuda.
And are you heading for Bermuda?
Well, yes, at the moment we are, but we can't get clear of this thing. We don't know what it is.
How long to Bermuda at present speed?
Not long, and you see him actually get out like a proper old-fashioned map, and you sort of, that's like not long. We're going at full pelt. We should be there in maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. I want you to land this plane at Bermuda.
Why? What for?
If I told you that, you would only look more like the pilot. Land the plane at Bermuda.
Okay, but I'm going to need some assistance. Do you know how to navigate? Or do first aid? Anything?
I can do first aid. I
Okay.
can administer a little medical help.
Okay, well, see to him then. I need to concentrate. And he kind of sits back up and
Fine.
does a few things. Oh, I found the
Okay.
damn radio work properly. And he starts using the comms to try and communicate to Bermuda, their airport, and try and get some kind of response.
At this point, I actually give him my badge. If they give you any static at all, needing clearances or anything, my name is Dominic Hollander. I'm a sheriff. That's my badge number, and I am authorizing this landing.
Okay, fine. I'm sure we'll be fine with that, but I'm not getting anything at the minute.
Land. Captain.
Basically, his eyes are completely wide, and they're just looking straight at this color spectrum in the sky. There's a lot of sweat coming down. You can see these weird blemishes starting to appear on his face.
I try and move my body so I'm directly in front of him.
Okay.
Literally trying to block the view.
You kind of have to sit on him a bit, but yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a tight fit for the controls and everything. Unless this chair swivels.
No.
Right, so it's going to have to be... and I'm trying to push myself as much forward to him so that I don't accidentally lean back and actually hit his controls. Because let's not. Captain?
Can you make me a first aid check, please?
This is when I kill him trying to help him. Well, that didn't go well.
You think he may be too far gone. You can
Okay.
see like there's sort of black tinges on his lips and teeth. His
Yeah.
eyes are starting to go very bloodshot.
I'm afraid I'm just going to have to do the old-fashioned Victorian method. Slap.
What, as if to wake him up, do you mean?
Yeah. I'm just going with the old-fashioned Captain.
Okay. You don't know if it's your own strength or something else, but when you slap him, his whole lower jaw comes off, rips off, and actually hits the wall.
Right. I react on instinct and I move backwards.
This black tongue kind of starts hanging down because obviously there's nothing to hold it in. And he then sort of rolls his head towards you, just
Yeah, I move backwards, which is probably not going to be good for the plane.
well, you notice that the plane has already gone onto a steeper gradient, but you imagine it's because, you know, they have to land quite quickly. But as you're backing up, you see another message appear in the PFD.
Okay.
And it says, "Do not land. Change course. Head for the open sea."
I turn to the co-pilot.
Yeah, the co-pilot hasn't noticed it. He's too busy concentrating on the other stuff.
I think I know what's going on.
Oh, well, that's great to hear because I certainly don't know
I
what's
think
going
there's
on.
been some weird. There's a weird weather front that's moved in. I think Bermuda have been unable to get radio communications just for interference, and they found a way to do it with this system. They're telling us not to land.
But that's
It's really rather
impossible.
brilliant.
This is a local display. Why would it show messages from Bermuda?
Hey man, I don't know all the text. I'm just saying it must be the only rational, reasonable, possible explanation. It says go to the open sea. I'm trusting Bermuda. Go to the open sea.
Ooh, can you make me a persuade roll?
Rather not. I'd really rather not. And I'd really, 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 really rather not. Yeah, I failed a ton.
Well, you're just a sheriff from some place in Virginia. I'm heading to Bermuda. You're no authority of mine.
I take my badge back and I head back to the overhead compartments.
At that point, the sheriff's actually come in and he sees the captain and goes, "Oh my God!" And he starts like getting bandages and stuff. And he's obviously seeing to that. When you come out, yeah, you can see that Helen's got a couple of drinks for this chappie. And is obviously trying to get information out of him. Carl, what are you doing at this point?
I go, Sheriff, what's going on? I'll get up and go over to Sheriff. What's happening?
I'm going to need your help. I go to the overhead from where my seat is and get my hand luggage, which, as a serving officer, I will have been allowed to carry my handgun.
Okay.
As hand luggage. I put it in a because I have a badge. I have credentials, so I'd be able to put my revolver in there. So me and my revolver and Kyle are going to go back to the cockpit, where the four of us, to again use the Dirty Harry line, me, Kyle, Smith, and Wesson are going to try and persuade the pilot that the message is to be listened to.
Okay, so Helen, you see them get out handguns and start heading towards the cockpit. Do you do anything?
I continue talking to this guy.
Okay, which you do. He's being quite sort of straight with what he says to you. He definitely wants to just carry on with what he's
I'm
doing.
gonna mention the religion of the Yellow King in passing. See, religions are interesting to me. I met this guy once. He worshipped, what was it, the Yellow King? It was fascinating to me.
When you say the Yellow King, he actually launches out of his seat and clasps his hand over your mouth and says, "Do not speak his name."
Mm-hmm.
That name terrorizes people all over the world, and you dare speak of it.
But don't be ridiculous. It's just like one person claiming to be God, another person claiming to be God.
No, this one is real.
Sweetie, my God's real. It doesn't mean he does anything.
Well, whether you believe in the unspeakable one or not, he has a real influence. What do you think that is out there?
Oh, I know that, darling. That's the sky from there. Oh, now, hang on a minute. Player lapse. What was it called again?
Carcosa?
That's the sky from Carcosa. Been there myself. Not a great holiday destination. Lots of insects.
And don't you find it rather worrying that it's here? In this sky? In our sky?
Oh, sweetie, I very much doubt that it's actually here. It's more likely that we're there.
You do have a point.
I know. I have experience of Carcosa.
You have a... What do you mean you have experience? Sorry, say that again, babe. I didn't hear you.
I say that with the driest, most deadpan face that I can.
I don't know if it's the drink talking with you, or you're just
Oh, good
a very
grief.
facetious
I
woman.
left my car there, called it Birdie. It was a lovely little pickup truck. I've got a tape of Lone Justice in the cassette head right now. I haven't listened to that cassette since I left my beloved car there.
At that, he's kind of stopped listening to you. He takes the rest of his drink and he actually starts getting up from his seat.
Now, if you'll take my advice, you'll stay close to the only person who's escaped from Carcosa on this planet. There's 3 of us, 4 of us who've escaped Carcosa on this planet.
He's not listening to you at this point. You see him actually head to the cockpit.
Oh, I'm not letting him go in there by himself.
Well, at this point, there's quite a few people heading to the cockpit, but he's going.
Okay, I will head there too.
Okay. Right, so I'll say that Kyle and Dominic, you got there first. So did you say that you were intimidating the co-pilot?
I am using a very simple, well-regarded, globally accepted technique of intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pointing the gun in his face and telling him it's the open sea or an open or I'm going to open his skull.
You're a lunatic. How on earth can we land on open sea and survive?
One message at a time. First of all, go to the open sea. Then we find where to land.
But why would Bermuda advise us to go out into the ocean?
Because clearly Bermuda's not safe to land at. Head to the ocean.
At that, you... Oh, actually... yeah, can you give me an intimidation roll?
Not my strong suit. And yet,
don't forget to tick it. So he kind of stops talking and goes back to his his console slowly, and you see that the joystick, what the fuck is it called?
yeah,
It's actually been turning a little bit off. And he grabs it and he says it's pulling slightly
Which way?
out towards the ocean.
Oh, good.
But I'm not doing anything. It's doing it by itself.
well, just make sure it's doing it at a nice steady pace.
Well, look, and you can see the sort of the altitude. You're going down quite quickly now.
Well, pull it up. Don't.
Kyle, could you be immensely helpful and perhaps tell the other passengers that they might want to have their seatbelts on?
I certainly can do that. I'll go back out and.
Yep. As you go out, you're basically met with a punch to the face.
Oh.
And you take 3 HP as you hit the back of your head, sort of on close proximity. There's the sort of corridor things. As this guy that you noticed Dominic had told you to keep an eye on just forced himself past you, and Dominic, you see him come in.
Who the fuck are you?
My name is Igor, and I think I have just found my maker. And you see him hold up this symbol with sort of almost like a three-sided question mark. You've never seen anything like it. Can you make me another sanity roll, please?
No, that's a fail.
Okay. You take 4 sanity as you get this sort of piercing in your temples as you look at this weird symbol that he's got, but you can't take your eyes off it. It's too fascinating. It's so symmetrical and intricate. But he actually leans up and puts it on the windscreen, and you suddenly start to see little cracks appear, coming out of the symbol in the glass.
Oh shit! Pistol whipping.
All right, yeah, make me a roll.
At
that point as well, Helen gets to the cockpit, and you basically see this unfold in front of you.
Because I do not want to. Crikey, this will be unarmed, won't it? Technically.
Yeah, or brawling is fine.
I don't really have brawling, I don't think. No.
Well, brawling and unarmed are the same thing, essentially.
Well, 55. Which, yeah. Yeah, it's a success, but it's not a hard or extreme or anything. It's just a success.
Okay. Well, even so, what I'll say is because he's stationary, he's quite easy to hit. Okay. So you knock him. Did you say with the butt of your pistol?
Yeah, I'm just good old pistol whip.
You smack him on the head, and he sort of goes back. And Helen, when you get there, you see him get knocked back by Dominic. This symbol flies out of his hand.
Nobody
at your feet.
My feet?
No, Helen's feet. So he's gone backwards. As he hits the ground, it's a bit of a smack, but he immediately starts scrambling to try and get that symbol.
Sorry.
Could everybody in here please leave apart from I was going to say the pilot, but he appears to be missing a jaw. The co-pilot and myself. Just get the hell out of this cockpit now before I spank you, children.
Yeah. If this guy's scrambling for this symbol, I'm going to boot him one.
I'm going to try and pull myself up as well.
Yeah, you're fine. It's only like a very temporary, Kyle. So you're okay. In terms of that order, Helen, this man definitely isn't leaving. He goes straight for the symbol if he can. So yeah, you can make me another unarmed roll, Ronnie, if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna boot him one. More somewhere between a boot and a stamp more than anything else. I'm more trying to push him away with the kick.
It is a little bit of a confined space, though. Bear in mind.
Yeah, hence the fact that it's going to be kind of a shoving kick. It is a hit, but it's a hit.
Okay. So yeah, you kind of hit him on the hand a bit, and it only really kind of takes him off what he's concentrating on for a second.
Kyle
He
will try
actually
and
grabs your ankle.
make a grab for the thing he was holding.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Because he's just grabbed onto Dominic's leg. So you go for the symbol. Can you make me a sanity roll, please?
A sanity roll, I certainly can. And that is a fail.
Yeah. Okay, you take 8 sanity.
8.
And you feel this strange kind of sensation when you pick it up. It's burning, but if burning could be good, then that's what it feels like. You want to hang on to it as much as you can, and you see it glint when you sort of hold it and have a look at it. You see it glint in the gold and the orange and the purple, and you can actually see almost like ripples of something within it. It's this weird not three-sided, but it's almost like a question mark, but in 3 ways, like a Triskelion.
Okay.
Or similar to that, anyway.
I'll gaze at it in my hand for a second before I sort of grasp it to myself and try and move back into the cabin to get a better look at it.
Okay, Helen, what are you doing at this point? Are you still trying to get people out?
No, you see, I have a theory that we're in Carcosa again, and that the plane needs to be guided back to our world. So I want to try and help it do that with the power of this ring.
Okay.
I want to try and guide the plane back to the safety of our world, where there is no storm.
Okay. As you look out, you can see that actually the plane is moving away from this big orange thing. It's more kind of going to the left a little bit. You're definitely going down. In fact, you can maybe even see water, the sign of a glint of water.
What pilot pull up on that stick or down? Or which way pulls the plane up?
I'm trying to pull up. Do you think I really want to nosedive into the ocean, you stupid woman? And he's trying with all his might to pull it, but it's just not.
Grab the other stick, for God's sake.
You're muted.
Now, you imbecile.
Well, I currently have a very strange man on my ankle.
Shut up and pull the bloody lever. It's called the lever.
I literally pistol whip this guy again in a vain attempt to get him off my ankle. And I'm going to go to the pilot's seat and try and pull up.
Okay, I'll say that you do, because he is still technically on the floor. Just for a minute, it kind of keeps him out of the way. But as you do, you see another message appear on the PFD, and it says, "Trust me, don't pull up." And you can see these waves, these absolutely huge waves coming into view, almost like they're all churned up and they're kind of going in a weird circular motion.
I want to try and connect to the other end of this message if I can. Can I try that?
Yeah, sure you can. Sure. I'm just trying to think what you normally do with this. Power roll. That's it.
Oh, just missed.
Okay.
No luck.
Essentially, nothing happens for a couple of seconds, but then you get a message that says, "Use the egg. Ben's connection is stronger."
All right, I'll open the door to the cockpit and holler down the fuselage. Ben!
Okay. Yeah, he comes up and says, "What is happening? Why are we?"
Are you holding your egg, or is that in the hold?
No, I've got it, but he sort of has to run back to his seat to get it.
Get us the head out of here with it.
Oh God. Okay, so he gets to it. He sees the message as well. He just for a minute he's a little bit distracted and he puts his hand on the PFD. Katie, are you in there?
Shut up and get us back to Earth, you dumb fool.
He concentrates, he closes his eyes and it starts to gleam. But as time goes on, you realize you're not going anywhere apart from the course you were on. But what seems to be happening is this thing is moving further and further away. So if anything, it's repelling it, perhaps keeping it at bay more than anything, rather than changing where you're going. The waves are getting closer, and when you start thinking about all those incidents in the news, you realize that they were not just myths or fairy tales. This huge whirlpool is coming up into view, and you're heading straight for it.
Well, this is fun. Given that this plane seems to be sort of flying itself now, I am now going to return to our esteemed professor who's on the floor, this theology professor, and I am going to give him a chance to do his very, very best impersonation of Rodney King, as I'm going to introduce him to a mild bit of police brutality.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm going to smack it. I'm going to hold the gun and just pistol whip him into unconsciousness.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I don't need to roll for that. But as you do that, you head through and you plunge into this huge cylindrical wave formation. And just for a while, everything goes calm. And you can see everything in the cockpit has changed. It's as if this plane has been underwater for years. There's sort of weeds and mildew everywhere. Things are floating around. Although you can breathe fine, you've got to kind of grab onto things, though, as you realize you can float as well. But you can see that Ben has still got his hand touching the PFD, and there's this figure in the screen, and it's getting clearer and clearer. And he looks back at you and says, "I need to go to her."
Well, you better get us out of this here mess before you do.
He holds out the egg to you and says, "Take it."
Jesus Christ.
And his finger starts sinking into the screen.
Kyle!
What?
Gather round, we're going to Bikini Faso.
I'll rush back to the cockpit. What is it?
We're leaving this wreck of a plane now. I focus on the images I saw of Bikini Faso. Sorry, Bikini. I'm getting confused between how Helen says it and how I say it.
Bikina.
Yes. I'm going to focus on the images I've seen of it and where it is on the map, and I'm going to try and visualize that in the world as to where we are. And I'm going to try to teleport the remaining three of us. Fuck the rest of the people, that would be too much effort. The remaining three of us to Burkina Faso, or as Helen says it, Bikini Faso.
Mm-hmm. So it's weird how everything is moving around, and when you talk, there's sort of bubbles coming out. But again, you can breathe. You focus all your energy with the ring and with the egg, and as they bind together, you see this sort of surge of bubbles going round and round, and suddenly everything in the window changes. You do feel like you're in water still, but it's either dark or your eyes are closed. You feel like you have to get up for air, and there's just a little bit of light coming from the egg that you can kind of see as you open your eyes, but you feel there's definitely water on it and you can't breathe.
Uh,
And that's all of you, by the way. That's how all of you feel.
Try and scramble up.
Yeah.
Swim up as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Fastest ever doggy paddle.
Yeah, so you scramble up, or swim up as much as you can, and eventually you hear the sound of you break the surface, and it's still quite dark in here, but now more light from the egg is emitting. You are still in the plane, but you're definitely not where you were before.
Was it in the plane? What's happening in the plane? Is it still in the same situation?
No, it looks like at some point you landed, but not in water. Or rather, there is a bit of water, like standing water, but it looks like the plane has definitely impacted. There's broken windows. Everyone in there is most definitely deceased.
Oh, fuck. What about the co-pilot?
Yeah, gone. You see him sort of half hanging through the window, actually.
What about the theology professor?
The theology professor is not there, not certainly where you are initially. Although you notice that sort of where the water level is, it's maybe in the first third of the plane. So it's possible he could be further up somewhere, but you realize that the plane is very much at an angle as well. It's sort of, you'd have to climb up a little bit.
How old do the bodies look?
Oh, fairly fresh. Fairly
okay.
fresh, yeah.
Right, I'm gonna swim, climb, whatever it is, towards the main door.
Cool. I'm desperate for the loo, I'm afraid, so I'm gonna leave that image with you as I quickly nip off.
Okay, that's
Okay.
that. Yeah. Catch you in a minute.
Well,
Hello.
hello. Do I still have the amulet thing?
I was going to get to that, yes.
Yeah.
And just in case it wasn't really obvious about the little question I asked right at the start about those two particular individuals, were they on the plane? The reason I didn't say it out loud, I kept it in the chat simply because I thought it would be kind of obvious. There was a very famous Twilight Zone episode called Terror at 30,000 Feet, which in the original Twilight Zone, the poor guy who thinks he can see a gremlin on the wing of the plane is played by William Shatner. When they refilmed it for Twilight Zone, the movie, it was played by John Lithgow.
I see.
I think I've seen both of those.
Yeah. It's a very famous story episode of Twilight Zone. One of the scarier ones.
Yeah, it's a bit of a monster type thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ripping the crap out of
So-
a wing and an engine.
Apparently everyone's having a whale of a time in the chat, and I had no idea. Hello, Steve. And yes, Liquid Sex Robot is one of the best beers I've ever drunk. That is what it's called, yes. It's a beer by Lervig. Very juicy, very citrusy. Very nice.
Very quiet in here.
Yes, it is.
We're all
But yeah, my bladder was so full I lost concentration. I thought, oh, I should, end it in a nice place, but no, I just...
No time.
Yeah, there was no time. Okay, cool.
It was all that talk of water.
Yes, obviously.
Yes, it was. Yeah, so you start clambering up. You kind of reach out and you can grab the seat. It's not too bad, but it'll take you a bit of time. In the meantime, in answer to your question, Cal, you suddenly think, oh, where's the amulet? And you look at your hand, whichever one it is that you picked it up with, and it's not in your hand, but you notice that there is a shape of the amulet that has gone right through your hand. You can see things the other side of your hand.
Oh, there's a hole.
Yeah, like in the shape of the symbol. It's completely burnt through.
And I'll just sort of hold it up to Helen in the shower and go, what? How? And why? Is it bleeding or is it just burnt and sort of...
You think it might have cauterized itself,
Yeah.
but it looks pretty gnarly, yeah.
Do all my fingers work then?
As far as you can tell, yeah.
How does that happen?
Darling, I have no idea how we were in Carcosa again, other than the fact that the three of us together. Oh my word, it's not the three of us together, is it? Are we creating some kind of conflagration of Carcosa because we've all been there? I have no idea. Honestly, I think I may have got that teleport spell wrong. Wow, I just said that I cast a spell. I'm not even sure that I did. I have no idea.
What, you mean spell like a witch spell?
No, I mean, the teleporting thing I've been doing with the egg and the ring. Maybe it's not teleporting. In this occasion, it appears to be crashing and killing. But I honestly have no idea if that's what was happening anyway.
So Dominic, you get a bit further up. You don't see any sign of this Igor fellow, but what you do see is that where the rest of your luggage was in the overhead lockers, they're fine. They're intact, unless they've maybe jostled around inside it. But they're closed, so you can sort of reach in and get them out. You think that it would be possible to get out by either removing one of the side exits, that's probably the easiest, or you can try and use the back exit, but that one's more sort of heavy duty. And
we'll go out the. In fact, a standard small plane, it'll have a emergency exits usually in the middle of the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
You just go boom, boom.
Yeah, you kind of you take the door off.
Yeah.
Whereas with the large doors at the back, no, they don't do that.
Where are we, Sheriff?
We're in water. Where the fuck you think we are?
I have no idea.
Although you notice, Dominic, when you look back down to him, that you're not sinking in it.
That's just freaky.
Probably
We're in
means
salt water.
No, probably means we're in Carcosa. That water was thick as hell.
Are we in just a shallow lake?
You didn't feel anything strange about the water, although you were panicking, but now you're sort of treading water. It just feels like water.
I'm going to look outside now that I've got the door open.
Yeah, so you sort of take the door off, throw it through. You peer out, and the first thing you get is just almost like a heat wave. It's warm wherever you are. It's quite dark still, but there is a stream of light coming from upwards, so back towards the tail end of the plane. You think you're in some kind of large cave, or possibly something underground. There's a bit of standing water, which is where the plane has gone into.
You can see land quite close, or?
Well, you think you are under land somewhere. You're surrounded by you know, rock and soil and so
on. Torches on the plane.
There should be near the
emergency exit or crew.
Check. Actually, we would have went past it. Check the steward's station.
I'll look for some torches in the plane.
Okay, so you see sort of the steward's little station. He's been battered, you think maybe by the drinks machine or something like that. You're not quite sure if he's completely, passed or if he's just unconscious. But he does have like his own little cupboard and stack of stuff. What was it you were looking for exactly? Torches?
Torches, yeah.
Just torches, okay. Yeah, there are a couple in there. And there are also a couple of flares.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take all those.
Take the first aid kit as well.
Yep. There are like bits of first aid left, although if you remember, he did try and see to the captain with his jaw that had been removed by you.
Well, I tried to find some sticky tape to put it back on, but it just wasn't working. Sellotape just doesn't quite work the way it should when it comes to jaw lines.
I'll throw a torch to either the sheriff or Helen, whoever I see first.
It'll be Helen. I'm slightly sort of further up.
Helen.
Indoors, you say? Maybe I did teleport us. Oh, well.
Well, we seem to be surrounded by land, so we're certainly not in the middle of the sea or anything.
Well,
we're doing okay for that.
As a success. We're no longer in immediate peril. Let's get out of this plane.
Yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere, and we have no idea whether we are. Helen, you and I at some point in the future are going to have a long discussion over what the definition of peril is.
I look forward to the day that doesn't happen. Now, let's get out of this plane.
from the
So
door. If we
I'm
shine a
gonna
torch
I'm gonna go get our stuff out the luggage.
Yeah, that's fine. So what I'll say is that you get your stuff. Again, it's difficult and it'll take a while, but it's not impossible. You're not in peril. The same with clambering out of the plane as well. It really depends on whether you want to go up or down. But again, the light is very much coming from above near the tail.
Head up, head.
Okay.
To the light.
What I will say is that you find kind of like a hose that's connected to a water supply for emergency like fires. It's small, but it does allow you to get up a little bit further. And then you do manage to clamber up to the top of the tail. There is definitely light. You can see sky, in fact, and you have to sort of climb up these vines to reach the surface. Well,
Under normal circumstances, this would sound like a ridiculous question. However, given everything we've just observed that got us here, what color is the sky?
It's blue. Very,
Thank
very
you.
blue.
Excellent.
That's a perfectly adequate question.
You know, usually that would be a silly question, but we've just seen bright orange. I'm just clarifying.
Can I just ask if the vines we climbed up look native to America?
You can make me an nature roll if you really want to.
Yes.
In fact, yeah, apologies. They're more like roots than vines, like large roots.
Well, I rolled the dice, but I did not pass.
Yeah, they look like roots of a big tree
Uh-huh.
or big trees, but you have no idea if they're American or wherever.
Goddamn foreign vines.
I want to sling I got the Bygone in a case, and I sort of put it across my back and maybe put my arms through the handles of the case. So I got my back while I climb up.
Okay. So yeah, you get out, and again you get even more of a hit from the heat as you get out into full sun. But as you adjust the light, you see that you are in some kind of savanna. So there's basically sort of dotted trees, but it's not thick like a jungle or anything like that. Still a forest though. You hear a lot of different birds, so birds of paradise, lots of different animals, etc. Ground is extremely dry.
Is this Bermuda?
No, darling. I do believe I have brought us to Bikini Faso.
All the way across the ocean.
Hell yeah.
Well,
Who needs aeroplanes? Although I do feel kind of guilty about all the others inside.
any sign of Igor?
No sign.
Any tracks?
You can make me a tracking roll if you like.
Yeah, I'm
Although due to all the activity, I'll give you disadvantage today.
You kidding? I just rolled 01 and you want to give me disadvantage?
Yes.
I only have 10% in track. I rolled an 01. Oh my word, I rolled an 08.
Yay!
Now you see, what's the problem? Okay, so you can't see anything for definite at the moment, but you think there has definitely been human activity up here recently.
Many people? Or is it the
Helen,
shoes?
you think it may be just one or possibly two people?
Okay, can I get a direction they were going?
Yeah, so it heads off sort of in front of you, off to the rightish, and you can see in the distance there's a road, like a muddy road.
Uh-huh. People went that way up the road. I suggest we follow them.
Sounds good to me.
What have we just climbed out of? A cave?
An aeroplane, darling.
Yeah, basically, when you step out and you get a bit further away, you can see you're not entirely sure how this has happened, but basically you've landed in an underground cavern area. Maybe the plane tore through the ground, but the way it looks is really odd. It's almost as if the plane was already there and everything grew around it. which is obviously impossible, but it's still more logical than, crashing through it. The way it looks, it just doesn't look like, it doesn't look right.
Okay, let's find where these people went.
I get it. Looks more like the plane went and skipped the landing and went straight to the crash, but there's no sign of a crash.
But it sounds like the plane's been there for a long time.
Have you not paid any attention at all to when we've moved from one place to another?
Well, what year do you think we're in now then?
Well, the same year we've always been in, sweetie. 1980 something or other. I don't remember when the campaign was set.
I think I said 1985. That's the 80s. Okay, so you follow the road for a little while, maybe half an hour. It's very hot. Typical Sahel type weather, so really hot, really dry. Doesn't rain for a lot of the year, especially at the moment. If you're there at the same time of year as you'd set off from Virginia, that was summertime. So it's stifling hot, and you get very thirsty very quickly. But fortunately, you do see a small little Jeep coming along.
I'll wave it down then.
Yep, and they stop. You see a man who's driving. You think maybe he's a conservationist or something similar, and he says in a very thick French accent, "Who are you? What are you doing in here?"
Oh, we're just trying to find a way to the nearest village or town.
Oh, you're lost, aren't you? You're tourists. Which town are you trying to get to?
The nearest one.
The next one.
Right. Well, there is quite a few. You're gonna have to be a bit more specific than that. Although I'm no taxi service.
The closest one.
Yeah.
Do you actually know where?
We have no idea where we are.
No.
You all cut out.
Yeah. We don't know where we are.
We want to go to the next village on this road.
Right. You're in Kabore Tambi National Park.
Which would be where?
We're maybe 50 miles from Ouagadougou,
Which is where?
the capital.
Faso.
Burkina Faso. If you want the nearest place, that's probably Sobaka.
I told you I'd get us here.
You were right.
And yet somehow you don't know where you are. Maybe it's the heat. Do you need some water?
Yes, please.
The water
We just did.
would be fantastic.
Oh, you're obviously not used to the heat. Why on earth did you come in the middle of August, especially with all the celebrations going on? It's so busy.
Well,
This is busy.
the celebrations.
What's being celebrated, please?
Well, Independence. In fact,
From
it's
who?
Independence Day today.
Independence from whom?
From, well, the French, of course.
You sound French.
Well, yes, because a lot of us speak French as well.
Right. Okay, so you're local to here.
Yes, but there's quite a few different countries on this side of Africa that speak French or have been colonized by the French.
I don't suppose you have a local paper, do you?
Now I'm a paper service as well, am I? And he,
It's just something to read on the journey.
I've got last week's, if that helps.
That would be brilliant.
As you can see, my office is nowhere near a kiosk. Oh, tourists, and he reaches back and tosses a paper at you. It's a bit sort of dirty.
Yeah. What's the date?
The date, well, it's last week's, so it's the end of July, 29th of July.
85.
Yes, 85.
Damn.
Ooh.
I thankfully we've not made some sudden 30-year jump.
No, the Jeep is very much, your 80s, or actually back then it would be not so good then, would it?
So it's not been made by DeLorean.
No.
Just clarifying. Sky blue cars, not by DeLorean.
Mm-hmm.
Just, clarification is important.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I mean, he sets off, so presumably you're okay to go with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you want then? Do you want Sabaka? I suppose they can get you to the capital from there, or sort out some kind of transport.
Which is the biggest town?
Oh my god. Well, look, there's Sabaka's the closest place, and this thing is only a little jeep, really. That's probably your best bet for transport all the way up to the capital. But there are smaller villages that are dotted around, like Pissy. Manga's a bit further out too.
Oh, yeah, I suppose either of those sounds pretty good.
Well, look, it will take a while to get to the other two. It'll take a couple of hours. Sabaka is about half an hour away.
Oh, we'll go there then.
Okay.
Sabaka.
So are you one of those Muslims?
Yes, I am Muslim.
Oh, so you're not with the Yellow King?
The what? The
Oh.
Yellow King? As in the character in the play?
Oh, what
Play.
play's that?
Well, the Yellow King, of course.
But I don't know that play. Tell me about it.
Oh, well, I don't remember it that well. It was just a story. But something about a place called Carcosa and that he lives in it, and it's not really what he looks like, but he appears to people as this king in yellow.
I would very much like to see this play. Is it on anywhere?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe in the capital. You're
Let's
much
go
more
there.
likely to find a book,
Oh,
a script.
I would like to read that.
Okay, I don't know why though. It's very odd, very
Oh, I'm
very
a
blasphemous.
theologian.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't know it was a religion. I thought it was just a story.
Oh, well, I've met some people traveling this great continent of yours who claim to worship him. And I'm curious as to, how that works. So I would very much love to read it. Where could I get a copy of that script?
Well, I don't know. There's not really anybody who sells it, outright. But if you look hard enough in bookshops, you might find something.
So where's a bookshop around here? What's the play called?
It's called The King in Yellow.
The King in Yellow. Okay.
Well, again, your best bet is the capital. You don't really get many books like that anymore.
Have you read it yourself at all?
No, it was only ever read to me by my mother.
So you know a bit then.
Well, I vaguely remember it. I'd forgotten all about it. I was very young. 3, 4.
Well, I think our need to read this play is so prescient for our research. We'd like to go straight there. What would it take to get you to take us straight to some bookshops?
You mean drive you all the way to the capital?
Well, I don't think we'd hardly survive on foot, and we are Americans, so obviously we're loaded.
We do have some American dollars as well. We can pay you in.
Mm-hmm. Well,
We would very
you
much
were-
appreciate it.
You said you were a conservationist. I don't imagine that pays much.
no, it doesn't. How much are you willing to give me?
Well, what's a day's wage out here? Should we say 3 days' wages?
Make it 5.
I'm guessing that's not a lot, so done deal.
Okay. You give him $20.
My word, really? Have 40.
Okay. We'll need to fill her up though.
Okay.
So he changes direction when he gets out of the like the nature preserve part where there's like a proper tarmac road. Rather than go straight on, there's like a smallish road that you think maybe go off to Sabaka, but he goes right, and he heads off that way down this main road called the N6. Apparently, you stop for gas a little bit on the way, and locals are quite interested in you. But presumably you just want to get straight to the capital.
Yes.
Okay. So it takes about 3 hours journey to get there. It's a long old way. But he takes you in, and it is very, very busy. There are people everywhere. The streets are covered in sort of bunting, various decorations. There's a lot of singing and dancing going on. So it's difficult really to move through with a vehicle, but he does sort of press his horn a lot and tries to take you round. Well, probably the side streets are best.
Look, you say it's Independence Day.
Yes, Independence Day. It's our Independence Day. We are the people who will not be corrupt. That's our motto, anyway.
Have the French been in charge long?
Oh, yes, a couple of 100 years.
They've had a big
But,
influence on the country then.
Yes, indeed. But we've been independent now for about 15 years. It's the 15th year.
15 years. Wow.
So, you know, a big anniversary.
I think a nice party atmosphere is perfect.
Did I say 1960 or 1970?
I thought it was 1960 if it was the date I saw on your computer screen.
Oh, in that case, yes, it was 1960. I thought it was 1970. Yeah, 25 years then.
There you go. There you go. That pretending to be romantic so that you can do a bit of recon has definitely paid off.
No, it was when we sat down for dinner and I said, 5th of August 1960, what the hell's that about? And then I saw the Bikini Faso flag. I'm getting confused. Helen says it one way, the country's called another, and I have polluted the way I say the country's name. It's that hard. No, I will forever be fucked now. Burkina Faso. Thank you. And realised that I shouldn't be seeing that, so I had to look away and he had to close the browser. So that's how I just remember the date from earlier. And I probably now have committed 5th of August 1960 into memory and forever know this little bit of useless, well, I say useless, obviously very important to them, but next to what's to me a date.
But what I will say is you do eventually find a bookshop. And yeah, weirdly, there is this book on display in the window that says King in Yellow, and it's got this sort of this curtain on the front.
Is it in English or is it in French?
It is in French.
Oh,
which I did have the French translation somewhere.
Oh la la.
But I'll find it in a minute. But I'll say, for plot purposes, you.
And Jayson has frozen.
Yes. And Becky as well. I didn't take
We'll be
French
right
as a
with you,
language.
folks.
I didn't take French as a language.
So, yes, let's entertain our esteemed viewers. Let us regale them with tales of our great heroism. As my tales of heroism could, well, maybe get a minute out of that. So I'm currently running 2 games at my friendly local gaming store, Settlers in Hamilton. There you go, Shaz. That's your plug. We'll be doing a video about that particular establishment very soon on my channel. Look out for that one.
So is the game's going okay then?
Yeah, I mean the Shintar game is the kind of high fantasy one is going really well. The Lux Aeternum, the kind of sci-fi, the Musketeers in Space one, is going really, really well. We've managed 4 sessions. It hasn't been a combat yet.
That's not bad.
And it's not because I'm particularly looking for a combat. In fact, they've kind of gotten to that. If we actually have a combat, we are so screwed. They're trying to handle a problem completely diplomatically.
Yeah.
The only problem with doing doing that completely diplomatically is they're tying themselves up in knots as they find more information and realize that what they thought was maybe possibly perhaps a fairly simple setup is becoming more and more complex for them, as they're trying to find a solution that doesn't actually shoot them in the foot.
Oh, they've lost internet.
Okay, this could be
Could be a little bit more serious.
well, to our esteemed viewers, particularly Steve. Hi, Steve. This broadcast could be could have a little bit of an anticlimax to it. We apologize. But yeah, it's the Lux Aeternum one is working really well. I'm enjoying. Particularly, I've got one player who really has the murder hobo mentality.
Yeah.
And to see him having to exercise a different set of muscles, where he's having to sort of finesse and interact with people rather than just get a weapon and kill them, is quite fascinating. Particularly as it's True 20, and True 20's combat system is extremely lethal. I don't care what anyone says, it's bloody lethal.
Well, just as well they haven't had a combat yet then.
Well, you know, they've not exactly been helped by the fact that I've told them I've ran it twice in at Settlers, and both times have been TPKs. So they're kind of going, this isn't filling us with confidence. I sort of discussed my sort of writing of the game, and I compared it to a Rubik's Cube. Whereas I said, you know, basically my game is quite straightforward. All I've done is taken a Rubik's Cube and mixed it up a little bit, where there's maybe 5 or 6 moves and the Rubik's Cube is back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've done, because of what they've been doing, they've twisted and turned this Rubik's Cube, and now it's going to take about 25 different moves before it actually goes anywhere near complete.
Yeah.
They're getting to that point of frustration where, to complete the metaphor, they're thinking of just smashing it up and just
Start again.
or peeling off the stickers and putting it back on. They're kind of looking at it that way.
Keep them guessing.
Well, I mean, I have asked them, are they actually enjoying the scenario? And they're loving it. They're just, I think because it's very different from anything they've done before.
Mm.
They're having a real workout. One of the players, Sam, this is only his second game ever. RPG.